The blue light on the control panel of the USS Horizon blinked 3 times before Commander Jack Howard noticed it. He had been awake for nearly 20 hours straight, monitoring the outer edges of Earth's solar system. This far from home even, small tasks required extra focus. "Commander, we're picking up an unusual signal," said Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, his eyes fixed on the screen in front of him. Jack moved quickly to Ryan's station. "What kind of signal?" "Not sure, sir. It's not matching any known Earth or Mars colony patterns, and it's structured. Too regular to be natural space noise." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had been reaching out to the stars for decades with no response. Their most advanced ships, like the Horizon, had explored only the nearest stars, finding nothing but empty planets. "How far?" Jack asked. "About 2 light days from our position, sir. Definitely coming from outside our solar system." Jack made his decision quickly. "Change course to intercept, and get Dr. Martinez up here." Within minutes, Dr. Olivia Martinez arrived on the bridge. As the ship's lead scientist, she had been waiting for this moment her entire career. "Is it real?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded. "We think so. First contact protocol is now in effect." The USS Horizon changed direction, its engines pushing the ship faster than any human vessel had traveled before. The crew worked in tense silence for the next 18 hours as they closed in on the signal's source. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, Ryan announced. The main screen lit up and the bridge crew gasped collectively. Against the blackness of space floated not one ship but hundreds, massive vessels moving slowly in formation. Their hulls shimmered with a greenish blue, light that pulsed gently. "My God," Olivia whispered. "An entire fleet." Jack straightened his uniform. "Open a channel using first contact protocols." For several minutes, they broadcast Earth's standard greeting message, a simple mathematical sequence followed by basic language samples. The alien fleet continued its slow movement, showing no response. Then, suddenly, the main screen changed. A face appeared. At least, what they assumed was a face. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer like the hulls of their ships. Its eyes were large and solid black with no visible pupils. Where a human would have a nose, it had 2 small breathing slits. Its mouth was a straight line that barely moved as it began to speak. To everyone's shock, it spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, Earth vessel. I am Zelix, ambassador of the Viridian people. We have been observing your broadcast for many years and have learned your languages. We come seeking help." Jack stepped forward. "I am Commander Jack Howard of the United Earth Navy. How can we help you?" The alien's expression remained unchanged, but its voice carried a weight of sadness. "Our world is dying. Our sun has begun an unstable decay process that our scientists predict will result in a supernova within 15 of your Earth years. We have nowhere to go." Olivia stepped closer to the screen. "Your entire civilization is on these ships?" "Yes. We number just under 1 million individuals, all that remains of our people after the evacuation. Our supplies will last perhaps 3 more years." Zelix paused. "We have traveled to 17 inhabited worlds seeking sanctuary. All have denied." Jack frowned. "Why would they deny you help?" "There exists a galactic concord, an alliance of advanced civilizations. They have a policy of non-interference in what they term natural extinction events. Our appeal to them was rejected 6 months ago. You are our final hope." The bridge fell silent. Jack looked at Olivia, who nodded slightly. "Ambassador Zelix, with your permission, we would like to bring a small team to your vessel to learn more about your people. Perhaps then we can better understand how to help." "That would be acceptable," Zelix replied. "I must warn you, the other species we encountered feared biological contamination. I assure you we carry no diseases harmful to Earth life." "We'll take proper precautions," Jack said, "but we won't turn away without at least trying to help." 6 hours later, Jack, Olivia, and 2 security officers stood in the shuttle bay of the largest Viridian ship. The interior was bathed in the same soft blue-green light as the hull. The air smelled faintly of salt and something like cinnamon. Zelix met them personally, along with 3 other Viridians. Up close, the aliens were taller than humans, nearly 7 feet in height, with slender bodies and long fingers. "Our medical bay is this way," Zelix said, leading them through curved corridors. "Our chief scientist, Nalara, can show you our biological data." In the medical bay, Olivia worked with Nalara, exchanging information about their respective species. After 2 hours of tests and discussions, Olivia pulled Jack aside. "This is remarkable," she said. "Despite evolving on completely different worlds, their basic biology has surprising similarities to ours. They're carbon-based, their blood uses a copper carrier like some Earth creatures instead of our iron, but the fundamental cellular structures are compatible. It's as if life throughout the galaxy follows certain patterns." "Does that mean they could live on Earth?" Jack asked. "Potentially, yes. They would need some dietary supplements, protection from our stronger sunlight, but there are no fundamental barriers. They could even eat some of our food." Jack nodded slowly. "That will help when we present this to Earth Command." When they returned to the horizon, Jack sent a detailed report to Earth. The response was immediate and overwhelming. News of alien contact spread worldwide within hours. Video feeds of Zelix and the Viridian ships were watched by billions. The Yuck world leaders called an emergency session of the United Nations. Jack and Olivia were ordered to return to Earth with the Viridian delegation. 3 days later, they stood in the Grand UN Assembly Hall in New York. Zelix and 2 other Viridians faced the representatives of every Earth nation. The room buzzed with nervous energy. UN Secretary-General Alan Curtis addressed the assembly first. "Today marks the most significant moment in human history. We are not alone in the universe, and our first visitors come to us not as conquerors but as refugees seeking our help." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some faces showed compassion, others fear and suspicion. "Many questions must be answered," Curtis continued. "Can we support 1 million new lives? Where would they live? How would our societies interact? But before we address these practical matters, we must first answer a more fundamental question." He looked directly at the Viridian delegation. "When we looked to the stars and asked if we were alone, we hoped for companions in this vast universe. Now they have come to us in their darkest hour. Our response will define humanity for generations." Jack stood near the back of the hall, watching the world leaders whisper among themselves. Next to him, Olivia spoke softly. 17 other civilizations turned them away," she said. "What will we do?" Jack watched as Zelix stood tall before the assembly, a last representative of a dying world. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "But I hope we're better than that." 2 months passed since the Viridians first appeared in Earth's solar system. The skies above major cities now showed a new sight, the distant shapes of Viridian ships in orbit, visible as moving stars at night. On street corners and in coffee shops, in offices and homes, people talked about nothing else. Jack Howard sat in a small conference room at United Nations headquarters. Across from him, Director Samantha Kelly of the Global Refugee Commission laid out maps of Mars on the table. "The southern hemisphere of Mars is our best option," she said, pointing to large green areas on the map. "The terraforming has been successful there for nearly 20 years. The atmosphere is stable, and there's abundant water in the underground aquifers." Jack frowned. "The Mars colonists won't like this. They've worked for decades to make Mars livable." "They don't have to like it, Commander. They just have to accept it." Samantha pushed her glasses up. "We've run the numbers 100 different ways. Earth is too crowded already with 10 billion people. The moon bases are too small and resource poor. Mars is the only viable option." The door opened, and Olivia Martinez entered with a tired smile. She had been working nonstop with Viridian scientists since their arrival. "Good news," she said, placing a tablet on the table. "We've confirmed full biological compatibility. With proper supplements, the Viridians can eat most Earth plants. Their waste can be processed in our standard recycling systems, and they pose no disease risk to humans." "What about them?" Jack asked. "Are they at risk from us?" Some Earth bacteria could potentially cause them problems, but nothing their medical technology can't handle. They've developed excellent immune system boosters during their time in space. Samantha nodded. That helps our case. The vote is in 3 days. Outside, the UN building, protesters gathered daily. Some carried signs welcoming the aliens while others demanded they leave. Police worked constantly to keep the groups separated. Jack watched the crowds from a window high above. Public opinion is split almost exactly down the middle. The latest polls show 48% in favor of helping, 47% against, and 5% undecided. That's actually better than I expected, Samantha said, considering how fast this is all happening. On the Viridian command ship, positioned in Earth orbit, Jack met with Zelix later that day. The Viridian ambassador had established a room, designed to make humans comfortable with Earth-standard gravity and lighting. Your people are divided on helping us, Zelix stated. It wasn't a question. Yes, Jack admitted. Many are afraid. This is all very new to us. I understand fear, Zelix said. When our son began to die, fear gripped our entire world. But fear can either paralyze or motivate. What did it do to your people? It united us. For the first time in our history, all Viridians worked together. We built these ships in just 7 years. Zelix turned to a wall covered in strange symbols. This is our history. Over 20,000 years of records, all preserved on our ships. Jack stepped closer. You've kept records that long? We believe that a civilization lives as long as its memory survives. We have detailed histories of 12 other species that no longer exist. Some died naturally, others through war. The saddest were those abandoned by the galactic conquered to their fate. Like you, Jack said quietly. Yes, like us. Zelix touched one of the symbols. This is the record of the Tentari. Their world suffered a sudden climate collapse. The conquered decided intervention would disrupt the natural order and left them to die. We were not advanced enough then to help. All that remains of them are our records. Jack felt a heaviness in his chest. I can't promise what Earth will decide, Zelix, but I will fight for your people. The next day, Olivia and her research partner, Dr. Greg Peterson, made a breakthrough in their lab at the Global Health Center. Look at this, Greg said excitedly, pointing to a screen showing cellular activity. The Viridian genetic material contains unique repair mechanisms. When introduced to human cells, they actually improve cellular regeneration. Olivia leaned closer. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Yes. Viridian biology might help us cure several genetic diseases, maybe even extend human lifespans by decades. Greg ran a hand through his curly hair. We need more tests, but this is incredible. This could change everything, Olivia said. We need to get this information to the UN before the vote. Meanwhile, tensions rose around the world. A protest in Tokyo turned violent when someone threw a rock at police. In Brazil, religious leaders held massive rallies both for and against helping the aliens. Social media exploded with arguments and conspiracy theories. On the day before the global vote, disaster struck. A small ship carrying Viridian diplomats and their human escorts approached the UN building in New York. As it descended toward the landing pad, an explosion ripped through its hull. The ship crashed onto the empty plaza below, killing 3 Viridians and 2 humans instantly. A group calling itself Earth Defense claimed responsibility. Their message spread quickly. No to alien invasion, humans first. The attack shocked the world. Images of human and Viridian rescue workers pulling bodies from the wreckage appeared on every screen globally. Instead of turning public opinion against the aliens, the violence created a wave of sympathy. The next morning, the United Nations Great Hall was packed for the final debate and vote. Secretary General Curtis called for order as Jack, Olivia, and Zelix took their seats in the front row. Curtis spoke firmly into the microphone. Yesterday's cowardly attack reminds us of humanity's darkest impulses. But today, we have a chance to show our brightest qualities instead. Samantha Kelly presented the Mars settlement plan. Olivia shared her team's medical findings. Representatives from every nation spoke, some passionately for helping, others strongly against. Finally, The vote began. Each nation's decision appeared on the giant screen. The numbers grew slowly on both sides. China voted yes. Russia voted no. The United States voted yes. Brazil voted no. Hours passed as smaller nations added their votes. The room grew tense as the numbers came closer together. Finally, the last vote was cast. The room fell silent as the final tally appeared. In favor of offering sanctuary, 51% against offering sanctuary, 49%. By the narrowest margin possible, humanity had decided to help. Secretary General Curtis stood tall at the podium. The vote is complete. Earth will offer sanctuary to the Viridian people. We will become the first and only species to defy the Galactic Concord's directive. Whatever comes next, we face it together. In the silence that followed, Zelix approached the podium. The blue-skinned alien looked out at the representatives of Earth. In our darkest hour, when all others turned away, humanity remained. We will not forget. 1 year later, the red landscape of Mars showed signs of change. In the southern hemisphere, where ice-filled craters had once dominated the view, a new city was taking shape. Domes of glass and metal rose from the rust-colored soil, connected by covered walkways that snaked across the surface like silver rivers. Linda Walsh stood at the edge of the main construction site, her helmet visor reflecting the distant Earth that hung like a blue marble in the sky. As chief engineer of the Mars Settlement Project, she had been working non-stop for months. The eastern dome is almost complete, she said into her comm unit. We should be able to pressurize it by tomorrow. Beside her stood Zelix, the Viridian ambassador. His tall blue form was protected by a special suit designed for Mars' thin atmosphere and cold temperatures. Your people work quickly, Zelix observed. On our world, a city this size would have taken 5 years to build. Linda smiled. Necessity is a powerful motivator, and having Viridian engineers helping us has sped things up considerably. She pointed to a group of human and Viridian workers installing curved panels on a nearby dome. Their designs and our materials make a good combination. The settlement, named New Viridia, was planned to house 200,000 Viridians in its first phase. Human engineers had incorporated both Earth and Viridian architectural elements, creating structures that would meet both species' needs. Inside the central dome, which had been completed the previous month, Jack Howard walked with Olivia through what would soon be the main market area. Now an admiral, Jack served as military liaison to New Viridia. The first families move in next week, Jack said, watching Viridian workers install living quarter partitions. 20,000 to start, Olivia nodded. The medical center is ready. We've trained 15 Viridian doctors in human medicine and 10 human doctors in Viridian care. She paused at a window overlooking a large open space. That's where the cultural center will be. They're going to teach Viridian music and art there. Have you heard their music? Jack asked. Yes. It's unlike anything on Earth. Some of the harmonies are beyond human hearing range, but you can feel them somehow. It's becoming popular back home. Not everyone embraced the new neighbors. Back on Earth, a political movement called Earth First had gained support, particularly in regions struggling economically. Their leader, Senator Frank Winters, appeared regularly on news programs. These aliens get new homes on Mars while millions of humans live in poverty, Winters said during a speech in Chicago. They get special medical care while our own people wait months for treatment. We need to return to humanity first policies. His supporters nodded and cheered. Signs reading Earth for Earthlings and no alien handouts waved in the crowd. In the White House, President William Moore met with his advisors and Jack, who had returned to Earth for meetings. Winters is gaining support, the president said, looking tired. His party might win enough seats in Congress to cause problems for the Viridian settlement program. Jack leaned forward. Sir, we made a commitment. 1 million lives depend on us keeping our word. I know that, Admiral. I'm on your side. The president turned to a screen showing the latest Mars images. But there's another problem. The Galactic Concord has sent representatives to observe the situation. Their ship arrived in orbit yesterday. Jack felt a chill. They didn't interfere. when the Viridians were abandoned. Why care now? That's what worries me. Their ambassador has requested a meeting tomorrow. I want you there. The next day, Jack sat in a conference room at the UN building. Across from him were 3 aliens he had never seen before. They called themselves Midorians, representatives of the galactic conquered. They were shorter than humans, with gray skin and 4 arms each. Their eyes were small and yellow. Admiral Howard, the lead Midorian, spoke in a flat, mechanical voice. We have observed your interaction with the Viridian refugees. This is concerning. Concerning how? Jack asked. The conquered maintains balance. Non-interference in natural extinction events is a cornerstone of galactic stability. The Midorian's 4 hands moved in complex patterns as it spoke. Your species has no standing in the conquered. You risk future relations with advanced civilizations by going against established protocols. Jack kept his voice even. We made our decision based on our own values. The Viridians needed help and we could provide it. Your choice reflects poorly on your species' ability to understand cosmic order. The Midorian's yellow eyes narrowed. We will continue to observe. Be aware that your actions have consequences. Meanwhile, on Mars, the first signs of true integration appeared. In the hydroponics facility that supplied food for the growing settlement, Viridian botanist Nalara worked alongside human farmers to develop crops that both species could eat. This hybrid wheat contains nutrients both humans and Viridians need, Nalara explained to a group of new arrivals. And these vegetables absorb less radiation than Earth varieties, making them safer to grow on Mars. In another section of New Viridia, a crisis emerged. A massive dust storm approached from the north, larger than any seen since the settlement began. Linda Walsh gathered her engineering team in the control center. The environmental systems aren't ready for a storm this size, she said, pointing to the swirling red mass on the screens. We need to reinforce the shield generators or we'll lose pressure in the newer domes. Word of the emergency spread quickly. Within hours, hundreds of human colonists from other Mars settlements arrived to help, bringing equipment and supplies. They worked alongside the Viridians as the storm hit, winds howling outside the domes at nearly 200 miles per hour. For 3 days, human and Viridian engineers fought to maintain the settlement's systems. When the main generator failed, they rigged a temporary solution combining Earth technology with Viridian power cells. When cracks appeared in the newest dome, they sealed them with a mixture of Martian soil and Viridian binding compounds. On the 4th day, the storm began to weaken. In the main control room, Linda and her Viridian counterpart, an engineer named Talox, watched the readings return to normal. We could not have survived this alone, Talox said quietly. Linda nodded. Neither could we. The solution you developed, for the shield generators, it's something we never would have thought of. Talox's black eyes reflected the control room lights. Perhaps this is why the universe brought our peoples together. To create something neither could alone. News of the Mars settlement's survival against the massive storm spread throughout Earth. For a moment, even the Earth First supporters fell silent, as images showed human and Viridian workers celebrating together, covered in red dust but alive and united. In New Viridia's newly completed Central Plaza, Jack stood with Zalix watching children play, some human, some Viridian, all wearing the same school uniforms. 1 year ago, your people were facing extinction, Jack said. Now look at them. Zalix watched the children with what Jack had learned to recognize as a smile. When all others forsook us, humanity remained. We will never forget that. 3 years passed since the first Viridians settled on Mars. New Viridia had grown into a true city, with 5 large domes connected by underground tunnels. Over 500,000 Viridians now called Mars home, living alongside nearly 100,000 humans who had chosen to join the settlement. Dr. Olivia Martinez stood in her laboratory in the medical dome, examining data on her screen. As head of the Joint Species Medical Research Center, she had led breakthroughs that benefited both humans and Viridians. Greg, look at these results, she called to her colleague, Dr. Greg Peterson, who worked at a nearby station. The latest tests on immune system enhancement are even better than we predicted. Greg walked over and whistled softly. 70% improvement in cellular repair. That's incredible. Olivia nodded excitedly. If these results hold, we could extend human lifespans by decades, and for Viridians, it might mean complete adaptation to Earth-like environments within one generation. Their work had been just one of many collaborative successes. In the agricultural domes, Viridian farming techniques had doubled food production. In the engineering sector, human and Viridian scientists had developed new materials that could withstand the harsh Martian environment better than anything created on Earth. But not all news was good. Admiral Jack Howard sat in his office in Yare, the administration dome, reading a message from Earth. His face grew serious as he reached the end. "Computer, connect me with Ambassador Zelix," he said. Minutes later, Zelix entered Jack's office. The Viridian had adapted well to Mars life, no longer needing the special environmental suits they had required during the first year. "You look troubled, Admiral," Zelix said. Jack gestured to the screen. "A galactic Concord fleet has entered our solar system. Not just observers this time. 20 warships. They're demanding a meeting." Zelix's normally calm face showed concern. "This is unusual. The Concord rarely shows military force so openly." "There's more," Jack continued. "President Moore wants us both to return to Earth immediately. The Concord representatives are insisting on face-to-face talks." 2 days later, Jack and Zelix arrived at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The grand meeting hall had been modified to accommodate the Midorian delegates. The air was cooler, the lights dimmer. UN Secretary General Curtis welcomed them grimly. "The situation is worse than we thought. The Concord has issued what amounts to an ultimatum." Inside the meeting chamber, 6 Midorians waited. Their leader, who called himself Supreme Observer Cult, stood as Jack, Zelix, and Curtis entered. "We have been patient," Cult began without greeting. "We have observed your defiance of Concord principles for 3 years. That patience has ended." President Moore, already seated at the table, motioned for the others to join him. "What exactly are you demanding?" Cult's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Viridians must be removed from your solar system. They were marked for natural extinction. Your interference disrupts cosmic balance." "They're people, not some abstract concept," Jack said, trying to keep his voice level. "Over 1 million living beings. The Concord maintains galactic stability through careful population control and resource allocation." Cult replied coldly. "Helping the Viridians demonstrates humanity's unpredictability and defiance of established order." Zelix spoke quietly. "And if Earth refuses, then Earth will face exclusion from all future galactic relations." Cult's 4 hands moved in complex patterns. "And potentially containment measures." "You're threatening us," President Moore stated flatly. "We are informing you of consequences." Cult placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram showing Earth surrounded by a network of satellites. "These can prevent any vessel from leaving your system. You would be quarantined like a disease." Secretary General Curtis leaned forward. "How long do we have to consider your demands?" 1 Earth month." Cult stood. "We will await your answer in orbit." After the Midorians left, President Moore turned to the others. "We need options." Back on Mars, news of the ultimatum spread quickly. In the central plaza of New Viridia, humans and Viridians gathered in concerned groups, discussing what might happen. Linda Walsh and her Viridian engineering partner Talix sat in a small cafe overlooking the plaza. "Would Earth really ask you all to leave?" Linda asked. Talix's expression was hard to read. "Your people have done more for us than any species in the galaxy, but we would not wish to bring war to your doorstep." "It wouldn't just be your problem," Linda said firmly. "This is our home too now. All of ours." Throughout New Viridia, similar conversations took place. The bonds formed over 3 years of working, living, and surviving together had created something neither side had expected, a truly integrated society. On Earth, public opinion had shifted strongly since the early days of the Viridian arrival. Senator Winter's Earth First movement had lost support after Viridian scientists helped develop solutions to Earth's climate problems using technologies from their homeworld. In the White House Situation Room, Jack sat with President Moore, Secretary General, Curtis, and Earth's top military commanders. "What are our defensive capabilities against the conquered fleet?" the president asked. General Lisa Young shook her head. "Limited at best. Their technology appears to be at least a century beyond ours." Jack studied the holographic display showing the conquered ships in Earth orbit. "We don't need to win a war. We just need to show we won't be bullied." "There's something else," Curtis added. "Two other civilizations have contacted us privately. They've been watching our integration with the Viridians. They're questioning the Concord's abandonment policy." The president looked surprised. "Potential allies?" "Maybe. They're cautious but interested in what we've achieved." 2 weeks later, Jack returned to the UN building for another meeting with Colt. This time he brought Olivia with him. "Before you give us your final answer," Colt said, "understand that defiance will have severe consequences. The Concord has maintained stability for 50,000 years by enforcing these principles." Olivia stepped forward, placing a data tablet on the table. "We've prepared this report on the medical and scientific advancements from our work with the Viridians. Cures for diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries. Technologies that could benefit all species." Colt barely glanced at it. "Irrelevant. Cosmic order must be maintained." Jack met the alien's gaze steadily. "I've been authorized to give you Earth's answer." He paused. "The Viridians stay. We would rather stand alone in compassion than united in indifference." Colt's yellow eyes widened slightly. "Then you choose conflict?" "No," Jack replied. "You do. We choose cooperation and life." As Jack and Olivia left the building, they could see Earth's combined fleet moving into defensive positions in orbit, prepared for the consequences of their defiance. Ships from Mars, the moon colonies, and every Earth nation had united for the first time in history. Olivia looked up at the sky, where the first stars were becoming visible in the evening light. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" Jack followed her gaze upward. "I don't know, but I know we're doing what's right." In orbit above Mars, the remaining Viridian ships moved to join Earth's defensive fleet. After 3 years of peace, they prepared once more for the possibility that their search for a home might end in conflict. Earth waited for war. The combined fleet of Earth, Mars, and the moon colonies formed a defensive line between Earth and the conquered warships. On the ground, people looked up at night, seeing the distant lights of vessels moving in orbit. Some prepared for the worst. Others simply hoped. But the attack never came. 3 days after Earth's refusal to abandon the Viridians, something unexpected happened. A new group of ships entered the solar system. Their designs were unlike any seen before, sleek vessels with hulls that seemed to bend light around them. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, now the flagship of Earth's defense, Admiral Jack Howard watched the newcomers with concern. "Are they Concord reinforcements?" he asked. His tactical officer shook her head. "Unknown, sir. They're not responding to hails yet." The mystery was solved an hour later when 3 separate messages arrived, simultaneously at Earth's communication centers. 3 previously neutral galactic civilizations, the Arthenians, the Loci Collective, and the Zet Imperium, announced their withdrawal from the Galactic Concord in support of Earth's stance. Their joint statement was broadcast worldwide. "We have observed humanity's compassion toward the Viridians with great interest. For too long, the Concord has enforced policies that promote stability at the cost of morality. We stand with Earth in defense of the principle that no species should face extinction alone." The Midorian fleet, faced with this unexpected challenge to their authority, did not attack. Instead, Supreme Observer Colt requested another meeting. At the United Nations, Colt's demeanor had changed. The confidence was gone from his voice. "This situation is unprecedented," he admitted. "No species has defied the Concord so openly. None has gathered allies so quickly." President Moore kept his expression neutral. "We didn't seek conflict. We simply helped people in need. The Concord Council has authorized me to offer alternative terms," Colt said reluctantly. "We will recognize the Viridian settlement on Mars as legitimate if Earth agrees to certain restrictions on future expansion." "Jack, glanced at Zelix, who sat quietly beside him. The Viridian ambassador showed no reaction. "We'll consider your offer," Secretary General Curtis replied. "But any agreement must respect the autonomy of all parties involved." 5 years after first contact, New Viridia had become a thriving metropolis of 2 million inhabitants, both Viridian and human. The red planet that had once held only small research outposts was now home to a unique civilization. In a brightly lit classroom in New Viridia's central dome, 30 children sat at desks. Half were human, with skin in various shades of tan, brown, and black. The other half were Viridian, their blue skin gleaming in the artificial light. All wore the same school uniforms. Their teacher, Sarah Miller, wrote on the board in both English and Viridian script. "Today we're learning about the first contact day," she said. "Can anyone tell me why this holiday is important?" A small Viridian girl raised her hand. "It's when humans found our ships and decided to help us." "That's right, Alina," Sarah smiled. 5 years ago today, your people and mine met for the first time." A human boy with curly black hair spoke next. "My dad says it changed everything, not just for Viridians, but for humans too." Sarah nodded. "Your dad is right, Kevin. Sometimes the most important choice we can make is to help others, even when it's difficult." In the Medical Research Center, Olivia Martinez and Greg Peterson reviewed data from their latest trials. Their work had led to treatments for previously incurable human diseases, while Viridian scientists had helped humanity develop more efficient spacecraft engines based on their generations of experience living in space. "The gene therapy is working, better than we predicted," Greg said, pointing to a chart. "Patients with Adams-Shelby syndrome are showing 94% recovery rates," Olivia smiled. 5 years ago, that disease was a death sentence. Now it's treatable with a single injection. Their lab was staffed by both human and Viridian researchers, working side by side on projects that benefited both species. What had begun as an act of compassion had evolved into a partnership that pushed both civilizations forward. In the administration building, Jack Howard, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the reformed Galactic Council, met with Zelix. The Conquered had been dissolved, replaced by a more democratic organization that respected the rights of all member species. "The Council has approved our proposal," Jack said. "The Sol system is officially designated as an open sanctuary for endangered species." Zelix nodded. "The first transport of Krell refugees will arrive next month. Their world is facing ecological collapse similar to what Viridia experienced." "Are we ready for them?" Jack asked. "The new settlement domes on Ganymede are prepared. Viridian engineers are applying everything we learned on Mars to make the transition easier." Zelix's black eyes reflected the light from the window. "Once, we were the refugees. Now we help others." Later that day, Jack and Zelix stood in New Viridia's central plaza, where crowds gathered for the first Contact Day celebration. A monument was being unveiled, a sculpture of a human hand and a Viridian hand clasped together, rising from a marble base. The monument bore an inscription in both languages. "When faced with the stars' indifference, we chose connection. When confronted with extinction, we chose hope. When all others turned away, humanity remained, and in remaining found its finest hour." Children from the school, both human and Viridian, performed a song they had written together. Their voices blended in harmony, some notes beyond human hearing range, but felt as emotional resonance by all who listened. As night fell on Mars, the dome's transparent sections revealed the stars above. Among them, the blue-white light of Earth shone brightly. Zelix watched the human and Viridian families celebrating together. "On my world, we had a saying, the universe remembers not those who merely survived, but those who helped others survive." Jack smiled. "Then perhaps we've all found immortality after all." Beyond Mars, the ships of the new Galactic Council moved through the solar system, no longer as threats, but as partners. What had begun with a desperate plea for help had transformed into something greater. A new understanding that compassion could be a foundation for strength, not a sign of weakness. And on a dozen worlds across the galaxy, other civilizations looked toward the small solar system where a young species had defied the established order to save a dying race, and began to question whether they too could choose a different path. When all others had turned away, humanity had remained. And, in that choice, changed the course of galactic history.